Taylor's comment?
So I was first notified Thursday officially. I found out through social media on Wednesday that something was going on, but Thursday officially as coming into the club, being updated on what had actually played out through a process of reconciliation. And so my initial response was shock, disappointment, anger. We're in a privileged position as AFL players and staff that we have the opportunity to be educated around this space, and there's no lack of education. We have a complete understanding of what's acceptable and what's not, and what's played out here is completely unacceptable and something that we won't stand for as a football club. It's something that I won't stand for as a football coach, and I'm really disappointed to be standing here today talking about it, to be honest.
As his coach, did you actually have a one-on-one, or have you had a one-on-one with him, and if so, what was the tone of that?
Yes, we have. We spoke on Thursday, firstly over the phone. Tex was obviously really struggling at that point, still is. I'm not sure that Tex quite understands or knows why it came out of his mouth, what did come out of his mouth. I listened, and since that time I've offered support, but for me, more importantly, is support is needed elsewhere at this point in time. Our playing group, our staff, the wider community. There's a lot of people who have been hurt by this, the Indigenous community first and foremost. And I think from here, the most important part is us ensuring we learn from this. We stop and we listen and we learn, and then we educate ourselves around what's actually acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Have you had separate conversations?
It's a hard one to put a finger on at the moment. It's mixed. Sometimes through adversity the group can become stronger, and this is a really tough space for us to be in at the moment. Our group have stuck strong. We have 4 Indigenous players in our group who are all outstanding characters, and they've obviously done had a pretty tough 24 hours or more. I know Tex Taylor's addressed the group. He's addressed our Indigenous players. Time will tell in that space. Time will tell.
What did you say to them?
If you could say something to everyone, including players, broader public, about this situation, what would the clear message be? Would it be sorry? What would you say?
I think, of course, there's an apology there. It's something that is completely unacceptable. But it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. This is about education, or a lack thereof. And in this instance, it's not a lack of education. We've got no excuse. In our industry, we have the best education around this space of anyone in society. We have the privilege of playing alongside some of the greatest athletes in the world, Indigenous athletes. I've been lucky enough myself to do that. Sorry. It's times like this you want to, you make phone calls to people you've played alongside, and you apologise to them. You just want to look them in the eye and be able to say, we've got your back. And that's hard to do at the moment, but that's what we're doing. We're sticking strong. We'll stand side by side with our Indigenous brothers, and we'll get through this, and we'll educate ourselves. And that's the message I would like to give to everyone. Let's make sure we learn from this. There's an education piece around the history of this country and the people that were first here, that when you do understand that, it's incredible how much respect you have for the people that were on this land first.
Those people you reached out to in Indigenous place at the club, does it make it much harder for these people to trust what you and wider members of the football public say, given Taylor so many times has stood on a similar platform and denounced racism?
It's hard for me to answer that. I can only go on our conversations, and it's a really tough one. I think we're human. People make mistakes. This mistake's unacceptable. In saying that, my priorities at this point are all our staff, our players, the Indigenous community as a whole, and I'll still be there for Taylor when the time's right to support him through as a human being. Similar emotions to what I went through when hearing it. It was disappointment, anger, but also understanding, and the conversations that we had were around where to from here. How do we use this to educate? How do we now, and I don't want to call it a platform, but the profile, we need to use this profile to educate the greater public, the community around what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. That's really where the conversation went. No, I can't speak for those and tell you how they're feeling. I'm sure they're extremely disappointed because we've done so much fantastic work around this space. The AFL put so much time and effort into providing education for anyone who works within the industry and the wider community.
Do you think Tex should be standing where you are and answering some of these questions?
Again, it's a really tough one at the moment for me to comment around where Tex should be. That's not my priority at this point. My priority is working with, as I've said, every person that's been affected by this, first and foremost.
If Tex didn't say what he said, surely you are frustrated with the fact that you have to answer these questions.
Yeah, and I think there is the human side to it where Taylor's going through quite a tough time at this point in time, and that is what it is. It's been a process that he's been in for a lot longer than what we have. I've known about this for a shorter period of time. I know at the right time he will come out and talk, but I'm not going to comment further on it. Again, that's the sanctions, not for me to comment around. My priority now is the group. We, first and foremost, them as people, but we also are in an industry where it's a performance industry and we have to perform now for 3 weeks. Your next question is going to be about integrating Tex back into the group. At this point in time, we need to give him his space. He needs to give us our space, and that's going to be a challenge in itself.
Do you think it's possible?
Of course it's possible. It's part of the human side to it. People make mistakes, and we'll work our way through that. I can't tell you how long that'll take.
Can you speak about the individual who made this complaint, had the courage to do that? Can you talk about this individual and their actions?
Well, of course I won't be giving any detail around who that individual is, but I couldn't be more proud of that person. And that's the kind of culture we're looking to build, and we are building. And it may not seem like that from afar, and I'm sure a lot of people are discussing our culture, and that's where you feel a little bit gutted about. We're doing some great things at the moment off the footy field and on the footy field. We've got some fantastic people, and the particular individual is one of those. And I applaud them for the way they behaved right throughout this. From all reports, they did exactly the right thing. We don't stand for racial vilification. Enough's enough in this space, and I think this person's done exactly that. And there need to be more people that, if you do hear the wrong thing being said, you need to stand up. And we need to, be there for our Indigenous community. We need to be there for them. It's up to us to now make a change. It's not up to them.
See, how much does this fracture the playing group?
Sorry, sir.
How much does this fracture the playing group?
Well, I hope it doesn't fracture. I hope it brings the playing group stronger. I hope it unites us more in time. At the moment, I can't tell you where that sits, but I would think longer term it's going to bring our group tighter together. There may be a better understanding about where to from here, but I will do whatever I can to ensure our group stays tight and we look after each other.
In terms of what Taylor's done for the footy club to come to the end of his career and have this hanging over him on the dual player penalty for as long as people remember this in terms of his legacy, how much do you think this tarnishes what he's done for the footy club?
Well, he's been an incredible player at this football club. He's a character. We live in a state where people love or hate the Adelaide Football Club, and he's the epitome of that as a player. He's loved by so many and he's hated by so many others. For him, I hope this doesn't. I hope he's able to make a difference from here, and he's able to. I'm careful with my words, but I hope this gives him an opportunity to make a difference, and maybe in time we'll look back and say, well, it was actually a terrible moment that made Tex even stronger and made him a better person.
How did he play through this? And why, if the club was aware, was there any consideration to not picking him for the games leading up to this moment?
Well, the issue becomes then, not being aware as a coach. There's a process that takes place that is private and confidential, and so as coaches, we don't know. I'm sure you guys will go back and look, and Tex wasn't playing his best footy through this period, and if I look at it now from a coach point of view, it doesn't surprise me. I can imagine mentally he would have been under a lot of fatigue. It's a tough one because, of course, there's need for privacy when things like this occur. It's probably all I can say around that. But by no means are we able to make a decision if we don't know any of the facts.
How much hurt has it caused internally? It's clearly affected you and a number of others. Hurt has been caused by
I think it's hard for us to tell at this point. It's hard to tell. We'll work through that over the coming weeks and months. I've been able to sit down with our 4 Indigenous players one-on-one and ask questions, but we'll never know. That's a lot more conversations and a lot more chance to sit down and open up and feel exactly how it has affected people. It may be something that doesn't hit home right now, but over time it may. But I can't